Hello everyone, we're so excited to do this video for you and answer some of your questions. And we also came up with a book tag because we love books, as you probably know. And so we have a few questions and we'd love for you guys to answer them as well. So let's get started with the first one. Which book are you currently reading and why did you choose that book?
Well, I can never just read one book at once. So I'm reading Ishmael by Eden Southworth. It's a lamplighter book, and it's just been really excellent about the tale of this young boy born into the worst of circumstances and how he rises above those. And then I'm also reading Bleak House by Charles Dickens. So that one I started because I watched the film version of Bleak House, and
Really good.
It was excellent, and I never really read Dickens before. I kind of gave up on him after Oliver Twist, so I decided to give him another chance. And Ishmael was recommended by a friend. So, what about you?
I'm reading two nonfiction books, Bradford of Plymouth, which is actually written by a descendant of Bradford, so I think that's really neat, and Worldliness, which is edited by C.J. Mahaney, and Mikaela gave that to me for my birthday last year, so I'm enjoying both of those.
And then we just pass on to each other the tidbits that we're learning from the books, so.
Yeah, the Cliff Notes.
Have you ever bought a book just for the cover, and if so, which one?
Well, I have not. I buy the books that I know I want to read. I'm guilty in one instance. I think there's a dig there. I bought this book at a library book sale, and it's a very beautiful cover, so if I'm going to judge a book by the cover, you know. And it's The History of Japan in Words of One Syllable. So I bought it partly because it was it's copyright 1898. Yeah. So that's really neat, and it has some amazing illustrations, and it's beautiful.
It's a riveting read, besides which.
Yeah, exactly. Which book to film / TV show transition did you think was done the best?
I would have to say Cranford, although I have not read the book by Elizabeth Gaskell. I have heard that, it's just not quite the same. In that film, they combined the stories from Cranford as well, short stories that Elizabeth Gaskell wrote, and it's just really excellent. So I suppose I can't pass final judgment on it until I've read the book for myself, but I tend to think it's a better version. And then, of course, Anne of Green Gables.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Really, yeah, I mean, it's not better than the books, but just as good, and they really and they really capture the spirit.
And I was thinking Captain's Courageous. The book was written by Rudyard Kipling. And in that case, I like the movie better than the book. The book is a little bit dry in spots and difficult to read, but the movie is really endearing and sweet. So you should watch that if you guys haven't. There's a movie recommendation. So,
if you are a writer, where does your inspiration come from?
Well, sometimes for blog posts, it's sitting in church on Sunday and God just, hits me on the head with this amazing idea, and because it's usually something that I'm working through myself. But the stories that I'm working on right now, one was inspired actually by driving down the freeway and seeing this beautiful location in Washington and imagining the kind of person that would live there. So it's pretty random, but I guess inspiration comes from all corners.
I'm inspired certainly by what God has been teaching me, more generally by the people around me, and just studying their characteristics and idiosyncrasies and strengths and weaknesses and their stories, and it's just fascinating to me. I could just go to an airport and sit and watch people all day, and then I'd get arrested for being suspicious activity.
Who do you think is either the funniest or most villainous character Jane Austen ever created?
I would have to say for funniest, Mr. Collins is kind of a shoo-in for that one.
Yeah.
And along with him, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. I mean, she's a villain, but she's also funny. That quote where she says about the piano, I would have been a great proficient if I had ever learned. It's like, well, certainly.
Villainous, Wickham and Willoughby, I would say tie for that honor. And I was thinking about them and thinking that the reason they're so villainous is because they're cowards. And
Yes.
It's really a very lethal character flaw. And neither of them are willing to step up and be a man. And they just are the worst sort of villains because of that.
Mm-hmm. Which author do you own the most books by?
J. Henty, I think, wins that award.
He's a shoo-in. He wrote a lot of books.
We own most of them too. So,
how many books do you own?
Hundreds. We'll leave it at that. Is there any one thing that you think could have been improved upon in one or all of Jane Austen's books? What is it and why?
Well, Jane Austen, I found this quote by her where she said, "But for my own part, if a book is well written, I always find it too short."
Yeah, I think her denouement is always a little too rushed for me. I wish, she would spend more time with the happy couple after they fall in love and get all the problems worked out and stuff.
And it also seems to me that all of her parent figures were pretty heavily flawed, and not just that they had faults, because all parents do, but to the point of being ludicrous, and
in some instances.
She didn't have a lot of good, strong parents with character, and so although, I wouldn't say that that's wrong to be presenting these bad parents, there are those out there, it would have been nice to see some more good parents as well. So, I found this crazy quote by Mark Twain. He said, "Just the omission of Jane Austen's books alone would make a fairly good library out of a library that hadn't a book in it."
Should we start a boycott of Mark Twain?
I guess. Where was his taste? What is your favorite genre of book?
I love historical fiction. That's the first thing I'll reach for. Biographies. I just love history in general. So.
Yes, ditto.
All right, what is your favorite Jane Austen quote?
Okay, mine, I have my Jane Austen volume here. All right, so when after Lydia ran away with Wickham, and Elizabeth is trying to comfort her father, and she says, "You must not be too severe upon yourself. You may well warn me against such an evil. Human nature is so prone to fall into it. No, Lizzie, let me once in my life feel how much I have been to blame. I am not afraid of being overpowered by the impression. It will pass away soon enough."
Yeah, that's true. My favorite would have to be, I don't know why this is my favorite, but in Emma, where Knightley says to Emma, "Badly done, Emma, badly done." And because not only is that the moment where he falls in love with her, but he's the antithesis of Wickham and Willoughby that I was talking about. The cowardice has not a place in Knightley, and he is taking the hard road to show his love for Emma and encourage her to be better. And so I think we could all learn from that.
Very
so. Now we have a couple questions from you guys that we wanted to answer here in the video. So Savannah said, "I would love to hear about life as twins, what it's like, how you relate, etc. I always thought it would have been neat to be a twin, and I think it would be really great to have twins of my own someday."
We agree. We love it.
We're best friends.
I would love to have twins as well.
That would be so awesome.
It would be really fun. I was thinking of a time when we were visiting this older gentleman at a care home, and you remember this story. And we visited him there for about a year, and it was at one of those smaller homes, so there was only like 6 residents. So we got to know them all by name, and we got to know the workers and the owner by name as well. And after about a year of going there, the gentleman's daughter was there, and she was talking to the owner. And she comes up to me afterwards, the daughter, and she told me that the owner had thought all that time that there was only one of us. And we would alternate and come like every other week, so we never came together, and she never realized that there was two of us the entire time. So that was pretty hilarious.
I don't know what she thought our name was.
I know, really.
And then kind of one of our only experiments into really trying to trick people into getting us confused. A lot of people tell us apart by my mole right here. And so our associate pastor's daughter was in on the scheme and put a mole on Mikaela with some makeup for the Sunday school picnic.
Preface this by saying we were all of 8.
Right.
You
So,
know?
and so we had so much fun because people would say, "Oh, Lauren," and then I would walk up and they would be totally confused.
Mm-hmm.
And especially this girl's father, who was our associate pastor, was totally lost. He had no idea. And so we were pretty proud of ourselves until the next day, which was our birthday on a Sunday. And he called us up on stage and had the entire church sing happy birthday to us to get back at us. So, you know, that kind of put the damper on our experiments with that for a while.
That was pretty funny, though. And then just this morning, I was sharing with the family a fairy tale that had a moral to it, and I started telling the story. I was like, so there was this fairy tale. There were 2 sisters. Lauren, were there 2 or 3? And Lauren said, oh, 2. And Susanna across the table said, you guys, you are on such a close wavelength. She knew exactly what I was talking about.
I knew what she was talking about.
Uh-huh. So then the last question was from Sarah, and she wanted to know what our favorite chapter in the Bible was. So that was a harder one for me because I just couldn't think of one. I managed to limit myself to a passage. Deuteronomy chapters 8 through 11. And I would encourage you to go read the entire thing, but I won't do that right now. Just a few highlights. In Deuteronomy 9, verse 5, God said, "It is not because of your righteousness, Israel, or the uprightness of your heart that you go in to possess their land, but because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord your God drives them out from before you, and that he may fulfill the word which the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Therefore understand that the Lord your God is not giving you this good land to possess because of your righteousness, for you are a stiff-necked people." Mm-hmm. And then in Deuteronomy 11, verse 26, "Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today. And the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside from the way which I command you today, to go after other gods which you have not known." So to me, it's the story of Israel's journey into the promised land, but it's also the story of my salvation, mm-hmm. and just a really precious reminder to me each day as God continues the sanctification process in my life.
So good. Well, I knew right away which one I wanted. It's a chapter that's very near and dear to me. Isaiah 43, and I even have written on it the love story, because mm-hmm. to me it is just God's love letter to me, part of his big love letter of Scripture. So I'll read you the first few verses. "But now, thus says the Lord who created you, O Jacob, and he who formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flame scorch you." Mm-hmm. It's very precious to me. So.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you all so much for making it to the end, for bearing with us, and also for your support, your love, and encouragement throughout this past year on One Bright Corner. And
we appreciate you so much. You sharpen us and encourage us, and
yes,
we're just so grateful for you.
So grateful to have this chance to know all of you through such a wonderful online medium. And we hope you all have a wonderful day, and hopefully we will be back soon. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.